Welcome to our podcast, What No Mom Told You, where the rarely spoken truths finally get loud.
I'm Megan Nelson.
And I'm Pauline Walfish. And this is a therapist-led podcast where we talk about the things no one warned you about, the truths that are often kept quiet.
We're naming the messy parts of life: motherhood, fertility, loss, grief, and joy, and everything in between, without judgment.
Because the rarely spoken truths need to be said out loud, and because no one should feel alone.
Welcome to What No Mom Told You.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Pauline Walfish, and I am here today with my faithful co-host, Megan Nelson.
Hi, Pauline. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. I'm getting a different view of my office today.
Yes, same, mine too.
I had the
In
sun.
case you haven't noticed, I bounce around from 3 different offices. So today this one will work.
So today we are doing our look back number 2. So we're looking back at the last 4 episodes that we did, and there were some pretty good ones.
Yeah. I can't believe we're up to episode 12 at the time of this recording. So
yeah, and we've recorded more, so it's very exciting how we've kind of
I was looking at our whole portfolio of podcasts yesterday, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, you're really doing it. So let's just talk about that for a second, right? Because you and I have been, I guess we're doing the look back on the prequel, our decision to do this, and just sort of the attitude that it took to be able to pull this off. So,
well, I mean, we were just talking a few minutes ago before we started recording, and really like the underlying reason for doing this. And for me, it's because I'm really curious about what people have to say. And so we're talking about the different types of podcasts that there are, the different formats. And I want to hear the information just as much, if not more, than probably anyone listening. And so I love that. I love that about getting to talk to people. I love hearing things that are perspectives I didn't really explore before. And then even I'm surprised how much I've even been bringing into sessions, just,
Yeah. So that curiosity of like always, I mean, I think this is probably what like drew us to being a therapist, right? It's like the curiosity about the human experience. And, like we have the best job in the world. We get to see behind the curtains, right? Like, so we know what's really happening and what people are experiencing and how people react and think and all different things. And so
I saw a meme the other day that was like, it was a cat meme, and it was like making this face like, and it was it's like what my therapist brain is like this, and it was like, I just want to know. I'm not judging. Just want to know. Tell me more. I'm not judging. And that's true. It's like, oh, what's going on? Interesting,
Yeah. Half the time it's like that. Like I was going to give you 4 examples. So I guess not half the time, but sometimes it's like, yeah, I just want to know. And then sometimes it's like, "Oh, I think I could use this for myself. Tell me more. How can I get more information here without seeming like I'm curious for my own personal experience?" Right? Like, yeah, we get so much good information. And this podcast has been really helpful for like tickling that curiosity.
Yeah.
But also, I love that people that don't get to see behind the curtains get to hear about these things because that's how we came up with like what no mom told you, right? Because so many people say like, I never knew that could happen. I never knew I would feel like this. No one told me that XYZ.
It's funny, like, I don't know if it's just like, what's that phenomenon? Like when you're looking for it, it appears everywhere. I don't know what it is. But now that we have this podcast, now I hear, no one told me all the time. Literally all the time. And usually when I hear it, I'm like, do you want to be on our podcast?
Yep.
I'm like, we have a podcast that's talking about that.
Saw a Instagram fed me the other day, a comedian who was doing a stand-up show, and she was talking about I just heard that everybody poops during delivery. Is that true? And there was like a room full of like labor and delivery nurses, and they were all like, yeah, everybody does. If people tell you they didn't, the nurses lied to them. Everybody does.
It's true.
And I was like, I love that. We just had Hannah on our episode. And that was one of the things that we talked about. And like, here's the stand up comedian, obviously, like so much more funny than I am. Maybe not funnier than you because you're the funny one out of the two of us. But
Not
I was
according to
like,
my kids. My kids think dad's way funnier than I am, and he's not.
I literally just said to a client yesterday, like, but my kids would tell me I'm lame. Like, your kids would think I'm cool. You might think I'm cool, but my kids think that I'm the most ridiculous person on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't count when it's your own kid. But anyway, yeah. So that's been fun. That's been fun. And then we had these 4 great episodes that were all so different.
Yeah. Yeah. So different. Different personalities, different topics. Like
Mhm.
all of the topics are very different. Um,
Yeah. And really useful.
yeah. I also love being able to see some of the therapists that I know or that we work with and being able to see them in a different light and to have them see themselves in a different light too.
Mhm.
Oh, I do know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and I think that's so cool too because they do, but we don't always get that, platform to
Mhm.
stand and talk about something in a longer format, and so, you give it out in 10 to 30-second doses in sessions, and so then it's like, "Oh, wait, let me talk about this thing that I actually know and care about."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of our coworkers, and I won't name names, was like, "I'm learning so much about the people I work with. Like, I never
Mhm.
knew." Fill in the blank, right?
Mhm.
Like, so yeah, we get to see a different side of ourselves and, really which, that's the other reason we did this, which is community and bringing people together and so people don't feel as alone and
And who doesn't want their own TED Talk? So this is like the
oh,
debate
there are plenty of people who do not want their own TED Talk. Megan, you and I
working on.
outliers.
I'm working on mine. Still coming up with the ideas.
I have asked my one friend at least 10 times, and she just routinely says no to me. I'm like, come on, you want to be on the podcast and talk about this? No,
I know.
fine.
No,
So
it's great. It's all right. I know.
it's
I've
all
had
right.
to learn to respect the boundaries of people who are more introverted than I am. That is taking some time.
That is right. And everybody is different.
Yeah.
And we really love and appreciate those people because they are the ones who are listening to our podcast.
So episode 9, we had Megan Farina on, and I love this one.
Yeah, I mean, I love anything that Megan does. I won't say she's a favorite because, we don't have favorites, but
It's like the children, you love them differently.
that's right. And she just and that I mean, that what you saw was Megan, like, she just brings with her, like, this genuineness and, like, this sense of calm and, like, we don't have to have it all figured out, and we're just gonna, like, be mindful and accept what appears in front of us without judgment.
Mhm. I was talking to someone about her episode afterwards, and they were like, "I mean, when she talks like that, I'm like, oh, there is hope for me." And I think about that too, because she describes herself as, previously being highly anxious, and anxiety has been one of my lifelong companions as well, and have made huge improvements in it. But I have a kid with medical needs. The anxiety is not necessarily going anywhere in that regard.
And you don't want it to because that's what also helps to keep you
Keep
safe.
Yeah, it keeps everyone safe. And it's going, and there are more things that I can remember to add. And that, yeah, it's okay. We're all doing our best and we can just, can accept and we can, find
Yep.
some balance.
Often I'm like, "Ugh, I wish I had known that when my kids were little. Like, I wish I had honed this skill earlier in my
Mhm.
parenting experience." And I tell clients all the time, we're going to mess up our kids somehow. Something that you do is going to have an impact on them, and it's okay. And that's how they learn and grow and develop. And
Mhm.
learn how to function in the real world. And then there's a part of me that's like, "Oh, I hope I didn't mess them up too bad."
Or I hope I don't mess up that way.
And I'm pretty sure I haven't, but Megan's kids are also, like, a little bit older than mine, and
Mm.
so, being able to see the relationship that she has with them now and hear about how hard it was, it gives you hope that even when you're I think she said, "My kids were like, 'Remember that time when you used to be crazy?' Even when you're crazy, it is okay. Your kids are going to be okay." I think the research shows that for a healthy, secure attachment, you have to get it right about 30% of the time.
I love that statistic.
Yep.
I really do,
And me
because
too.
the sometimes the pressure or the idea, not sometimes, a lot of times, the idea that you have to be this perfect parent or you have to be good 90% of the time creates way more problems than you can even imagine. It just
Yeah,
comes up and it can feel so debilitating. And it's like, no, no, it's not striving for mistakes, but it's like they're going to happen.
right. Yeah. And like I can say with confidence, my kids know that if they mess up, I'm still going to love them.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what kids learn when you mess up, right? They learn that, like, they can make mistakes, they can fall, they can draw on the walls, and you're still going to love them and be there for them. And that turns them into teenagers and adults who are not afraid to make mistakes and can bounce when they fall, and they've got some kind of grit, and they know how to handle tough situations, and they can function in the real world.
Just like it driving my almost 14, he'll be 14 on Monday. Driving him around with his two of his buddies yesterday. And they were talking about this new kid in school who they tried to befriend and it didn't go so well. And I was like, tell me about him. What's going on with him? Like trying to figure out because, I have to like be a therapist in a lot of different areas sometimes. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to figure out like, oh, maybe he feels insecure in a new school, this or that. And I'm like, I don't know. He tells lies all the time. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I was like, why do you think he does this? And one of my son's friends were like, I don't know, maybe he doesn't feel comfortable enough telling the truth. And that just hit me like, oh, it takes safety to tell the truth,
Mhm.
in whatever kind of environment you are. And I'm like, okay, at least at this point so far, I think I've given my kids enough sense of safety that they can say, oh, yeah, I made this mistake. And
Yeah,
that to me is such a win. Even their friends are pointing it out. Then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a big win for a parent. It's not
yeah,
to eliminate mistakes, but it's to be safe enough to tell them when you have made them.
yeah. Yeah, and, all the things that Megan talked about, radical acceptance. I'm not gonna be perfect. I didn't like the way that sounded. I didn't like the way that I showed up today. I can't change it. I'm gonna be able to keep going and move forward. And maybe it's not you, maybe it's somebody else. I didn't like the way I have a teenager. I don't like the way he talked to me.
Mhm.
Like that happens a lot. And also have to just, I can't fight every battle.
And I think one of the things she said, and that I have to remember because I got a little acceptance happy after her episode. I'm like, oh, is this something we can accept? And at one point, someone was like, no. And I was like, okay. It sounds easier than it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that brings us to our next episode with Nicole Lara.
Yeah. What I got from Nicole is how validating what she was talking about validates so many people's experience. And one of the challenges I think of a working parent is like you don't have the opportunity to see other people in your shoes or even talk about that part.
Mm,
Other working parents, you're working, right? And so the conversations are really small, maybe, or time limited. And I just think that for people to be able to say, this is my experience and it's not okay. And I feel kind of stuck in it.
yeah. Yeah. Nicole and I have talked a lot about this because we both come from corporate backgrounds, and my corporate was in healthcare. So it was a little bit different. It is a tough world, man. It is a hard world for women, and it is a hard world for working parents. And I do not miss I miss the people that I worked with, but I do not miss the game at all. But, right before I left, they were coming out with this new thing called a BERG. Have you ever heard of
Mhm.
BERGs? So it's BERG, and it stands for like Business Employee Resource Group. So basically, like, it was a group of employees that had like a shared identity, right? So like maybe there's like the Latina Berg or the disabled employees Berg, or today maybe we'd have a neurospicy Berg, right?
Mhm.
And I remember saying to a colleague, "Oh, they should really have a working mom's Berg." And her answer to me still stands out. And she was like, "Yeah, it's so needed. And no working mom has time to take on that extra project." And I was like, right, who would run the Working Momsburg? A working mom. Yeah. And it like really stood out to me as like, oh, right. Like we are just doing the best that we can.
And it's also like, who would take that is a working mom. Because unfortunately, sometimes that becomes such a identity. My husband still points out a needlepoint that he saw in my grandmother's house that's like, if you want something done, give it to a tired mom or something like that. And
Hmm.
I'm like, and we joke about it, how like true and sad it is. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The busiest person in the room. It's,
Yeah.
it's yeah. So that, I mean, that episode was really, interesting and like eye-opening and a little PTSD invoking. Uh, but, the corporate world is is really challenging, and that concept of what if you don't want it all? Because we're as girls, most of us are grown up with this idea of this is your trajectory, right? You're going to get married, you're going to have a white picket fence, you're going to have 2.2 kids, you're going to have a dog, you're going to work and have a career, and everything's going to be great. And that shit ain't easy. None of it is easy. The
And
house, the kids, the job, the
yeah.
education, it
If
is
it's even
all hard.
possible, yeah. We talked a little bit in her episode about, like, the golden handcuffs, or maybe we didn't. I don't know.
Yes, yeah, that was I'd never heard that before. That was something that she said.
Yeah, and so now I've been thinking about it even more because in our field, like, some people, some corporate perk, if you wouldn't say that, or benefit is, paying for fertility treatment. And we hear all the time about people saying, "I don't like my job. I wish I could leave it, but they're paying for my treatment." Or they have a cap, and then once that cap runs out, they have to leave their job and look for another one in order to afford fertility. And it's
Yeah.
like, wow, like that is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother I mean, you're talking specifically about infertility, but,
Mhm,
like, uh, insurance being tied to employment,
mhm.
period, right? Like, how, critical it is for some people to be able to stay in their job or keep their job because their health insurance depends on it, right? I mean, that's like, I guess, and I had never thought about that until somebody said to me, there's a problem with our system that insurance is tied to your employment. And I was like, huh, never occurred to me.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, and people don't speak up sometimes. Like, people will have really difficult employment situations and not speak up because they don't want to lose their job because their wife needs treatment for something.
Yeah,
It's like really wild when you think about it.
yeah, yeah. But, Nicole introduced this concept of what if you don't want it all? What if you, and I know that she is a very ambitious person.
Mhm.
Right? So I know that there is a part of her that wants to do it all. And also, like, I probably am also a little ambitious. And it's only with practice that I have barely learned to be like, is that really important? Do I need to do that? And then I can say no to things
Yeah. Well, and
a little bit.
it can it can be the reverse too. I was a stay-at-home mom out of necessity because I worked for a year, and after paying for childcare, I was making $100 a week for somebody else to watch my baby for 30 hours a week. And I was like, this stinks. and I didn't love that job, and it was fine, but it was like it took me a long time to get to a place where I was following a path that I wanted to follow, and
Mhm.
the feeling of being behind is still there, you know? And so it
Yeah.
really there's no some people say, like, I remember when I kinda entered this field and I was talking it must have been someone at HHP, and I was like, "You started grad school after your graduate, and then you started your career," and I'm like, I really think that's so cool. You're gonna get so many more years in the field. And they're like, yeah, but you got so much life experience before. And it kind of clicked for me that it was like, oh,
Mhm.
there's pros and cons to all of it, you know?
There really is. There really is. I mean, we went through something similar where it was my husband who had been in a new job. He had the job with the good fertility benefits that we
Mhm.
exhausted, and then he got an opportunity to get a job with a better career trajectory and a pension, and but it was going to be a huge pay cut. And our baby was young, and we were like, "Okay, like, should you do this?" And also, like, you're not gonna be making that much more than we're gonna pay in daycare. And we, like, had to really wrestle with that decision. And, I think part because of gender norms, him being a stay-at-home dad didn't feel like something he could embrace, right? This is also, 20 something years ago. Not that that's
Mhm.
not much better today, but it was a tough decision. And we made it work. We made it work by
Yeah.
working opposite shifts. He took a 3 to 11 and I was mostly 9 to 5-ish. And so we juggled and made it work, but
Wow. That's one
it
thing
was
that
hard.
we, haven't talked about, which we could talk about in another time is like making it work. Like, you know, the cost, the unaffordability of parenthood sometimes is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking today, I was like, we need to have some dinks on our podcast at some point too.
Wait, what does DINK stand for? I'm gonna age myself that I don't know that. Da
So no, it's double income, no kids.
Oh, yeah. Well, my best friends, I don't know if they'll be on the podcast, but they're gonna kill me for talking about this maybe. That's fine, they don't listen. They're a same-sex couple, and they were
Yeah.
going to use a surrogate, and they decided not to. They were going to adopt, they decided not to, and they, are dinks, I guess.
Yeah. I
And
mean it
sometimes I'm like, "We cannot go on that trip."
Yeah, it is a decision point, and it is a real one, and more people are making that decision because parenting is really freaking hard, and it's really freaking expensive, and
Mhm. And limiting.
we limiting, and we are overpopulated, and so more and more people are deciding to be child-free by choice, which is very different than child-free not by choice.
Yeah.
But that brings us into infertility
Mhm.
land and our next 2 technically
So,
podcasts, right?
yeah, Dr. Kutches, talked about endometriosis, which was really informative and so many things that I didn't know and wasn't aware of and have, already recommended so many people to go to the websites that she referred to just because
Mhm.
there's so much information. There's so much lack of information that is spread
Yeah.
there about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even in the scientific community, like,
Mhm.
it's just we don't research women's bodies. Like, that is the hidden thing behind all of this, is, like,
Mhm.
nobody studied the woman's body. Just assume it runs like everybody else, like every man's, and there are some real different things about women's bodies.
I mean, I had an epiphany, I guess, when I was working at the VA. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but anyway, when um, I realized that how come like 90% of the male patients have a penis deformity? I'm like, that's so weird. And I realized they don't. It's for erectile dysfunction medication. That has to be their diagnosis. But
Mm,
I'm like, we don't have a female equivalent of that diagnosis and treatment. that would not be a way that they would look at the female needs, right? And then it made me think like, "Oh my god, we don't even have like, they're not even researching like heavy periods or, endometriosis or, they're not even putting in the research needed to solve real painful experiences of women that happen all the time." And I'm not saying that men don't deserve to have treatment for whatever they want, but it was so like, wait, they view it so differently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about um, there are some procedures that women do, gynecological procedures, without any anesthesia, and insurance companies won't cover anesthesia. And I'm like now hearing more and more doctors like talking about this. And of course, social media helps to elevate that. But like, so you think it's okay that I'm going to like dilate the cervix, I'm
Mhm.
going to put a camera through this tiny hole, cut a piece of their uterine lining out while they're awake. Like, these are really painful procedures, and it's just normal for us to go through them without any kind of anesthesia, right? But for, men, like similar procedures are done with a local general light sedation, right?
That's why we need more female scientists and doctors.
And more funding to fund women's health research, right? Because
Speaking
endometriosis is not, like she said, it's not a reproductive problem.
right.
Like it is, it is really, and when she said it takes 10 years for average for people to get diagnosed, I still like it makes me kind of sick. I've seen it. That's
Mhm.
the subjective experience that I have witnessed. But like to hear like, no, that's actually the average, that's awful.
And that's the people that seek a diagnosis.
Mm.
There are plenty of people that after they hear the doctor say, "Oh, heavy periods and pain during your periods are normal," then they just feel like their lot in life is to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when you think about fertility and the reproductive age, like, sure, you start being able to reproduce when you get your period at 10, 12,
Yes.
and then fertility significantly decreases at age 35. So
Mhm.
even if, like, you took that whole prime window you have between 12 and 35, that's 22 years.
Mm.
Half of that, you're misdiagnosed. And
Mm.
we're not trying to get pregnant at 12,
For the
right?
first 10 years, most people,
Yeah.
yeah,
And most people are now not trying to get pregnant until in their 30s,
they can't afford to.
right? So they've got like maybe 5-year window of
Mhm.
prime fertility when they can afford to have a baby and before their fertility starts to like significantly decline.
Yeah.
So if in those 5 years you run into problems like endometriosis and it takes 10 years for you to get diagnosed, this is why our infertility, well, it's one of the reasons why infertility rates are on the rise.
Yeah.
When I started this work, it was 1 in 8 couples experience infertility, and now it's 1 in 6. And that's probably not even representative because it doesn't count for all the people that never try to get testing or never seek
Mhm.
treatment. But 1 in 6, like that's a significant number. The Academy of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, they recently put out a recommendation that all OBs should be counseling their patients about fertility preservation options,
Mm.
which was you know, because people are waiting until later in life to get pregnant. And then your fertility starts to decline at 35. And
Yeah.
if you don't know, if you didn't listen to our podcast, right?
Yeah.
You don't know that that's an option or you don't know that that's happening, then you're suddenly at 35 trying to get pregnant and find out that like 5 years ago was the best time for you to do it.
Yeah.
There's no there's no rewinding the clock.
And
So if OBs start talking to people about this as an option, but there's so much work to be done because one, it's not easy. Two, it's not covered by insurance.
yeah. And
Right?
painful.
It's it's a lot of medications, it's a lot of time off from work, it's a lot of psychological exploration, right? Like this is not an easy thing like you go to get your teeth cleaned, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty intensive and we don't our system is not ready to support that. And also like it's important that we're talking about it. So I kind of love that it's out there.
Mhm.
I'd love to have an OB on the podcast and see if they're actually, doing it, because also they've got a lot of different things that they have to talk about.
Yeah, in 15 minutes.
If they're lucky,
Yeah,
15
while they're writing their note, yeah.
while they're writing your note and doing your pap smear at the same time.
I mean, it's not true.
No, no, gosh, our healthcare system is so broken. And we are doing the best that we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so infertility affects 1 in 6, where we're recording now in the month of April, which I just figured out that I made up that the whole month of April was Infertility Awareness Month. It is 1 week. It is April 19th to 25th this year, but
Every
too
year.
bad. I've decided it's the whole
So
month.
yeah. But you've decided it's a whole month. This isn't the first year you decided it was a whole month. Like, you've
No,
been going with it for a couple years, so to the point where I was like, "I guess it is," even though everything I looked up did not say that, and I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna tell her she's wrong, so we're just going with the month."
and like, I love when people tell me I'm wrong. Like,
Well,
It
I was like,
takes a lot of chutzpah to tell me I'm wrong, and except for my husband, who, if he's listening, he cannot tell me I'm wrong. But I really actually appreciate when people call me on my blind spots or correct
"Well,
me.
had this not been a topic that's so important to you?" Because I'm like, "Well, she picked this up somewhere. So somewhere April is Infertility Awareness Month, and I'm not gonna take that away from her."
Yeah, and I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. So it is
So you can correct me, but it doesn't mean that I will change.
right. It's still, well, whoever decides on the months, some person decided on them. So,
Yeah. I mean, May is Maternal Mental Health Month. And also, there's like one day that's supposed to be World Maternal Mental Health Day.
right.
But somebody decided it's the whole month, and I'm going with that. The men get November.
January is my birthday month.
Is it November? I think it's November.
I get the whole month.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, so April's Infertility Awareness Month, and if you don't believe that or you don't like it, too bad. You can fast forward, but if you're here, we are going to be talking about infertility.
We're going
So
to be,
we had endometriosis for Endometriosis Awareness Week.
uh-huh.
And that episode wasn't specifically about fertility, but like that was a nice transition, because endometriosis is one of the biggest problems that we see for people who are struggling with fertility. And then that brought us right into Dr. Shara Brofman, who love her.
Yeah. It's so great.
She and I met at the Infertility Conference in Philadelphia years ago, and have really enjoyed working together.
It was a really great conversation. And even with speaking with her afterwards, something she brought up that we didn't address even on the episode is that there is a significant less availability of sperm for different races and ethnicities.
Mhm.
And for
Not
instance,
just sperm, but eggs too.
sure, yeah. And that's something that we didn't cover. This is not, it's not as simple as you look through a catalog and point, well, who looks at a catalog anymore, but you know what I mean.
And you're literally looking through a catalog. It might be a digital one,
Mm,
but
okay, yeah. But it's not just like, oh, there it is. There's a lot of things that you can consider and that you might want. And with less resources, it can be difficult for some people.
yeah. Yeah. Not just less resources, any marginalized identity,
Mm,
really. If you want, when I first started doing this work and started exploring all of the different things that people who are considering a donor have to think about, like there's a lot that goes into that. Do I want a donor that is the same skin color as me,
mhm,
right? So that there's some resemblance. If you have a not the most popular skin color, your selection is very limited,
mm,
right? There's less people of color donating sperm or egg. Do you want a donor who has the same blood type as you, right? Some people choose not to disclose. And so if that's the choice that you're making, which actually isn't the recommendation for the psychological benefit of the donor conceived child, but
mhm,
that was a way that some people decided they would go out of their way to find a donor that had the same blood type? Are you okay with a donor that has other children? There's pros and cons. I know that their eggs work, right? Like maybe
Mhm.
those eggs are better quality eggs because they've had other children, but also that means that my child is going to have half siblings out there somewhere, right? And also, like, just because they don't have half siblings today doesn't mean in 5 years they won't. So there's so many different things. What if they have a family history of bipolar disorder? What if they were a recovering alcoholic? Do I want somebody who plays the piano because I play the piano? Like there's so many different decisions that go into choosing a donor. Some that are less important to some people are more important to other people, but for a lot of people, finding a donor that looks like you is the priority. And when you are somebody who's not of the most popular shade, that that gets really hard.
I wonder too with egg and sperm donation, even like sharing it with your child, but is one thing, but like having to tell other people who you might not even be close to. Just thinking about this now, this conversation, what a weird thing that must be like.
Mhm.
Like a person I see once every 3 years. By the way, the child that I carried, we used a donor egg. That's such a strange thing to navigate, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the same for adoption. It's same for single parents by choice. It's same for divorced parents, right? Like, the maybe that's not the same. That is not the same for divorced parents. But whenever there's third party reproduction, we used to get this all the time. Like, oh my God, he looks just like your husband. No, real? Do I say anything? Like,
Mhm.
and we raised our youngest like proudly knowing that he was adopted, in part because we had a 6-year-old at the time. Like, it was not possible to keep that a secret, right?
Well,
Like, I like to be all altruistic, but, like, circumstances didn't really allow for a lot of secret around that, and I don't regret that at all. I'm so grateful. But he used to call me all the time from school and be like, "Joey doesn't believe that I'm adopted. Can you please tell him I'm not lying?" And he was so proud of it. Like, he'd go to school and be like, "I'm adopted." I mean, I had teachers who he would write it on the if you have kids and you're listening, there's this in September in grade school, everybody fills out this thing. My name is, I am so years old. One thing I'm proud of is my favorite sport is, but Alex would always write, I'm proud I'm adopted. And his teachers would call me and be like, is it true? Like, I don't know how to ask you this, but like, is it true? And is it okay if we hang it up? And I was like, yes, please. Like, we are so proud of it. And that's part of who he is. But that takes work. And, it's an uncomfortable conversation to say their donor, right? And these are things that families who choose to build their families through third party reproduction face and think about and have to decide, where people who get pregnant spontaneously don't have to put that much thought into it.
It's so funny because it came up in one of my groups the other day that, and I created this just so everyone knows, but I was like, it's almost like there's another trimester that's ongoing and you don't necessarily know how it is. When there's infertility, when there's adoption, it's like you're thinking about this long before conception.
Yeah, I like that, Megan. Development
Yes.
starts before conception.
Which is why when we talk about loss, the loss is there no matter if it was a chemical pregnancy or, that it's a loss. It's a
Mhm.
real loss.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it never even made it to chemical pregnancy,
Mm.
right? Even if it was an embryo that was transferred that didn't
Even if it was an egg that never made it.
didn't fertilize, right? A missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like, oh my gosh, does Craigslist still exist? I'm not old.
I don't know. I said it a few weeks ago.
Huh. Anyway, there used to be a page on Craigslist for like missed connections. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
passed somebody in the train who I should have said hello to, and like,
Mhm.
did you see me? It's like that with babies, right? Like these
Yeah.
these failed, which I don't even like the term, but these cycles that didn't work
Mhm.
out, or these missed connections with babies and loss and grief that comes along with it.
So lots to
There's
talk about.
so much need in this period of time in people's lives. I'm glad that we get to have a whole month to talk about it.
So we're going to talk to people who have lived experience
Mhm.
and lots of stories. Some of the stories we might have to put in other times too, because we have a lot of stories. Lots of people want to share their stories, and we're so excited about that and grateful
We
for
need
them.
a whole year.
Infertility 2026
I think for people who are living it, they are probably living it for the whole year.
or multiple years.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Um,
I'm taking a month,
take the month.
1 week. We
And
got a lot to talk about.
and if those of you are not really interested in infertility, listen anyway because you probably know someone who is going through it, whether you know it or not. Uh,
Yep. And if you
and
don't now, you will.
yeah, one
You
in
will. 1
6.
in 6.
Yeah.
So that's your neighbor, it's your kid's teacher, it's the person who cuts your hair, your dentist. Sadly, sometimes it's your OB.
Yeah. Sometimes it's your fertility doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. I'm not disclosing anything because they were not my patients, but I have spoken to nurses who work in the fertility clinic who are going through their own fertility experiences along the way. Because I was there as a patient and I was like, yeah, this is the kind of work I do. And they're like, oh my gosh, like I wish I had known that there were therapists who do this because I was going through it while I was working here. It impacts everybody. So if you think that you don't know somebody who's gone through it, you're probably wrong. They just probably haven't told you about it. But if you haven't, you will because 1 in 6 and more people are talking about it. More
Yeah.
people are speaking about it and we're breaking down the stigma and talking about it out loud.
What are you most excited to talk about?
Oh
What
my
did
goodness. I don't know. I mean, we have fertility. We're going to talk about fertility preservation. We're going to talk about same sex couples. We're going to talk about surgeries. We're going to talk about advanced maternal age. I don't know if there's one thing that I think fertility preservation might be the one thing I'm most excited about.
Okay, cool. I also am excited just to hear. I like it when people say, this is what helped me from my friends and family, and this is what did not. So
Oh,
I think that is always like,
yeah.
all
Well,
right.
it has been so much fun doing this with you, Megan. And yeah, not a day goes by that I don't talk to somebody and be like, oh, do you want to be on our podcast? And I am like overwhelmed and love the amount of people that are like, yeah, people want to share their story. I love that. We don't talk about these things enough.
Yeah, I'm glad we have this little window. That's
Yeah,
not the right. This little,
it's true. We have like a little window into people's hearts and
okay.
homes.
All right, we'll go with that.
If you have been along for these 4 episodes, thank you. If you caught just this one, welcome. We're so glad to have you and hopeful that you will stick around. Look
Yeah.
through our inventory, see which one resonates with you, but join us because we are talking about the things that no mom told you and we are taking the secrets out of the closet.
And if
Thanks
you
for being here.
have anything you want us to talk about, any topics, um, send us a message on our Instagram. No mom told you.
Yeah. Probably supposed to be like, drop it in the comments below, but we're not
Subscribe
that
and
cool yet.
like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Are people still doing that? They're probably not still doing that. That anyway. Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen that done before though.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Anyway, see you next week.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for spending this time with us. If you found yourself nodding along or saying, same, that's kind of the point.
We hope you leave today feeling a little less alone. This is what no mom told you. And yeah, there's more where that came from.